The city was in ruins. Buildings crumbled, streets littered with debris, and the air thick with radiation. This was the reality of the world after the Great War, a world where survival was the only goal. In the midst of this desolate landscape, a lone figure could be seen frantically working on a car. This person, known only as Jack, had been living in this city for years, scavenging for supplies and trying to make a life for himself. But now, with the city on the brink of destruction, he had to make a choice: stay and face certain death, or try to escape. Jack had been repairing this car for months, scavenging parts from other abandoned vehicles and using his mechanical skills to make it run again. It was his only hope of getting out of the city before it was too late. But as he worked, he couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. The city was infested with ghouls, mutated creatures that had once been human but were now mindless, feral beings. They had overpopulated the city, making it almost impossible for anyone to survive. But Jack was determined. He had to get out, no matter the cost. He had heard rumors of a safe haven, a place where people were rebuilding and trying to create a new society. He wanted to be a part of that, to have a chance at a better life. As he tightened the last bolt on the car, he heard the sound of sirens in the distance. The city was being nuked. Jack knew he had to act fast. He grabbed his few belongings and jumped into the car, starting the engine and speeding off into the chaos. The streets were filled with ghouls, their glowing eyes and decaying bodies, a constant reminder of the danger that surrounded him. Jack swerved and dodged, trying to avoid them as he made his way towards the outskirts of the city. But it seemed like they were everywhere, their numbers increasing with each passing moment. As he drove, Jack couldn't help but think about how this city had once been a bustling metropolis, full of life and hope. Now it was a wasteland, a reminder of the destruction and devastation caused by the Great War. But he couldn't dwell on the past, he had to focus on the present and getting out alive. Just as he thought he was making progress, a group of ghouls appeared in front of him, blocking his path. Jack slammed on the brakes, narrowly avoiding a collision. He quickly reversed, but the ghouls were relentless, chasing after him and clawing at the car. In a moment of desperation, Jack reached for his gun and started firing, taking out as many ghouls as he could. But there were too many of them, and they were getting closer. He knew he couldn't keep this up for much longer. Just when he thought all hope was lost, a group of people appeared, armed and ready to fight off the ghouls. They had seen Jack's car and had come to his aid. With their help, he was able to break through the ghoul blockade and continue on his journey. As they drove, Jack learned that these people were part of a group called the Brotherhood of Steel, a faction dedicated to preserving technology and rebuilding society. They had been monitoring the city and had seen Jack's car, recognizing it as a sign of someone trying to escape. They led him to their base, a fortified bunker hidden deep underground. Jack was amazed by the technology and resources they had, and he knew he had made the right decision in trying to escape the city. But his relief was short-lived. The Brotherhood informed him that the city was not the only target of the nuclear attack. The entire region was being targeted, and they had limited time to evacuate. Jack was given a choice: stay and fight with the Brotherhood, or leave with them and start a new life elsewhere. He knew he owed them his life, but he also couldn't abandon his dream of a better future. In the end, Jack decided to leave with the Brotherhood. As they made their way to the evacuation point, he couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness for the city he was leaving behind. But he also felt a glimmer of hope for the future, knowing that he was not alone in this world and that there were people out there fighting for a better tomorrow. As they boarded the transport, Jack looked back at the city one last time, watching as it was consumed by the nuclear blast. He knew that he had made the right choice, and that he was now a part of something bigger, a community dedicated to rebuilding and creating a new world out of the ashes of the old. And as the transport flew towards their new destination, Jack couldn't help but feel grateful for the car that had once been his only means of survival, now carrying him towards a new beginning. The group of survivors, led by Marcus Johnson, had finally found a safe haven in the desolate wasteland of the Fallout universe. After months of wandering and fighting off raiders and mutated creatures, they stumbled upon an abandoned military base that seemed like the perfect place to make their new home. They quickly set to work fortifying the base, setting up defenses and creating a system for growing food and collecting water. It wasn't long before the group had a well-functioning community, with everyone pitching in to keep it running smoothly. One day, while out on a supply run, Marcus and a few others came across a group of heavily armed soldiers in power armor. They introduced themselves as the Brotherhood of Steel, a renowned organization dedicated to preserving technology and restoring order in the wasteland. The Brotherhood had been on a mission when their convoy was ambushed by a group of raiders. They managed to fight them off, but their vehicles were badly damaged in the process. Stranded and outnumbered, they were in desperate need of assistance. Marcus and his group immediately offered to help, inviting the Brotherhood back to their base. As they made their way back, Marcus and the leader of the Brotherhood, Captain Maxine Walker, discussed their situation. "We've been on the road for weeks now, trying to find a safe place to regroup and repair our vehicles," Maxine explained. "We've got a few engineers in our group, but we're lacking in supplies and tools." Marcus nodded, understanding their dilemma. "We have a few cars and trucks here that could use some repairs as well. We've been scavenging for parts, but it's been tough out there." The two groups arrived back at the base and were greeted by the rest of the survivors. After introductions were made, they all sat down to discuss a plan. It was clear that they needed to work together to survive in this harsh world. They decided to split into two teams, one to work on repairing the Brotherhood's vehicles and the other to work on their own. Marcus and his friend, Jake Evans, took charge of the repairs for the Brotherhood's vehicles. They were joined by two Brotherhood engineers, Sarah and Alex, who were well versed in the technology of the old world. Together, they inspected the damaged vehicles and made a list of the parts and tools they needed. They also took note of the vehicles in the base that could be used for spare parts. It was a daunting task, but with everyone's skills and knowledge, they were determined to make it work. Over the next few days, the group worked tirelessly, scavenging for parts, repairing engines, and replacing tires. They also had to deal with the constant threat of attacks from nearby enemies, but they managed to hold them off with the help of the Brotherhood's advanced weapons. As they worked, they got to know each other better. Maxine and Marcus bonded over their shared experiences of leading a group in this unforgiving world. Sarah and Alex shared stories of their time in the Brotherhood, and Jake impressed them with his mechanical skills. One evening, as they were taking a break from repairing, Maxine approached Marcus with a proposition. "We've been impressed with your group and how you've managed to create a safe haven in this wasteland. We would like to make a deal with you." Marcus raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What kind of deal?" "We have a base nearby that we've been trying to secure for some time now. It's a valuable location, and we could use your help in taking it over. In return, we will provide you with protection and access to our resources." Marcus considered the offer. He knew that their base was still vulnerable to attacks, and the Brotherhood's resources would greatly benefit their community. After discussing it with his group, they agreed to the deal. The next day, the two groups set out to take over the Brotherhood's base. With their combined skills and firepower, they were able to defeat the raiders and secure the location. The Brotherhood shared their resources and technology with the survivors, and in return, the survivors provided them with a safe place to stay and a community to call home. As they sat around a fire that evening, enjoying a well-deserved meal, Marcus couldn't help but feel grateful for the unexpected alliance they had formed. In this harsh and dangerous world, it was rare to find people you could trust and rely on. But in that moment, surrounded by his new friends and allies, Marcus knew that they had found something special: a family in this post-apocalyptic wasteland. The world had changed drastically ever since the outbreak of the zombie apocalypse. The once bustling city streets were now filled with the moans and groans of the undead, and the smell of death lingered in the air. But amidst the chaos, there was one person who was determined to survive: Claire. Claire had been living in the city for as long as she could remember. She had grown up in the suburbs, went to school in the city, and even landed her dream job in the heart of downtown. But when the virus hit, everything she had known and loved was torn apart. Her family had been taken by the zombies, and she was left to fend for herself. As she sat in her makeshift shelter, Claire could hear the faint sound of explosions in the distance. The government had resorted to nuking the infected cities in hopes of containing the virus. Claire knew that her time was running out, and she needed to get out of the city before it was too late. She had been holed up in an abandoned auto repair shop for the past few days, scavenging for supplies and trying to fix up an old truck that she found. It was her only hope of escaping the city and finding a safe place to start over. But the truck was in a sorry state. The engine was barely running and the tires were flat. Claire knew that she had to fix the truck if she wanted to have any chance of survival. She rummaged through the shop, gathering tools and spare parts, and began working on the engine. As she tinkered with the truck, she couldn't help but talk to herself, trying to keep her mind off the impending danger. Come on, baby, work with me here, she muttered as she tightened a bolt. I can't believe this is happening. I always thought zombies were just a thing in movies, she continued, wiping sweat off her forehead. After what felt like hours, Claire finally managed to get the engine running. She let out a triumphant whoop and did a little victory dance. But her celebration was cut short when she heard the sound of the nukes getting closer. Holy shiitake mushrooms, they're really nuking the city, she exclaimed, quickly grabbing her bag and jumping into the truck. She slammed on the gas pedal and the truck roared to life, the tires screeching as she sped out of the shop. As she drove through the city, dodging abandoned cars and swerving around zombies, Claire couldn't help but think about how different things used to be. She remembered the days when she would complain about traffic and now she would give anything to be stuck in rush. Ha, who's laughing now, rush hour? I'm driving like a bat out of hell to save my own ass, she chuckled to herself. But her joy was short-lived as she reached the edge of the city and saw the mushroom cloud in the distance. The nukes had been dropped and the city was being destroyed. Claire's heart sank as she realized that she was now driving towards a wasteland. But she didn't have time to dwell on it. She had to keep moving if she wanted to survive. The truck was starting to sputter, and Claire knew she needed to find a place to rest and fix it before it completely broke down. She drove for hours, the sun setting in the distance, before finally coming across a small town. It seemed untouched by the apocalypse, and Claire couldn't believe her luck. She parked the truck in front of an old gas station and quickly got to work on the engine. Please, please, please work, she pleaded as she tried to fix a leak. To her relief, the truck finally started up again. She let out a sigh of relief and decided to spend the night in the gas station. As she settled in for the night, she couldn't help but think about how lucky she was to have made it this far. The next morning, Claire woke up to the sound of a car pulling up outside. She cautiously peeked out the window and saw a group of survivors getting out of the car. They seemed friendly enough, and Claire decided to approach them. Hey there, I'm Claire, she said, trying to sound friendly. The group introduced themselves and explained that they were part of a larger community that had managed to survive the apocalypse. They were on a supply run and were heading back to their community. Claire couldn't believe that she had finally found a group of people to survive with. As they were about to leave, one of the members of the group asked, "Do you need a ride? We have an extra seat in the car." Claire's heart swelled with gratitude as she accepted their offer. She climbed into the car, leaving the old truck behind, and smiled to herself. She had survived the zombie apocalypse and found a new family in the process. And as they drove out of the town, Claire couldn't help but feel hopeful for the future. In the colorful and vibrant world of Plants vs Zombies, there was a small, rundown van parked in the middle of a lush green meadow. Inside the van, a young woman named Lily sat with her head in her hands, frustration evident on her face. She had been traveling through different dimensions when her van suddenly broke down, leaving her stranded in this unfamiliar place. Lily had no idea how to fix the van and get it running again. She tried everything she could think of, but nothing seemed to work. As she sat there, feeling hopeless and defeated, she suddenly heard a rustling outside. She cautiously peeked out the window and was surprised to see a group of plants surrounding her van. The plants were not like any she had ever seen before. They were tall and had unique features, almost as if they were characters from a cartoon. Lily watched in amazement as they began to communicate with each other, using a language she couldn't understand. One of the plants, a sunflower with a bright yellow petal, approached the van and called out to Lily. "Hello there, human. My name is Sunny, and these are my friends. We saw that you were in trouble, and we want to help." Lily was taken aback. She had never encountered talking plants before, but she was grateful for their offer of help. "Thank you, Sunny. My name is Lily. I'm trying to fix my van so I can continue my journey. Do you think you can help me?" Sunny nodded and called out to the other plants. "Friends, let's work together to fix this van and help our new friend Lily." The other plants eagerly joined in, each using their unique abilities to assist in the repair. There was Pea, a small but mighty pea shooter, who used his powerful blasts to loosen the bolts on the engine. Then there was Chomper, a friendly but fearsome plant with sharp teeth, who used them to cut through wires and remove any obstructions. Lily couldn't believe her eyes as she watched the plants work in perfect harmony, each one contributing in their own way. As they worked, the plants introduced themselves to Lily. There was Walnut, a tough and resilient plant who was the protector of the group. Then there was Cactus, a desert plant who had joined them on their journey through the dimensions. And finally, there was Bonk Joy, a feisty little plant who was always ready for a fight.
Lily was amazed by the bond these plants shared and how they all looked out for each other. She couldn't help but feel a sense of warmth and belonging with them. As they continued to work on the van, she shared her own story with them, how she had been traveling through different dimensions, trying to find a way back to her own world. The plants listened intently and sympathized with her. They had also faced their fair share of challenges in this strange and ever-changing universe. But they had each other, and that was what made them strong. After what seemed like hours of hard work, the van was finally fixed. Lily couldn't believe it. She had been ready to give up, but with the help of her new plant friends, they had managed to get the van running again. She thanked them profusely and offered to take them with her on her journey. They happily accepted, excited for new adventures and new friends. As they drove off towards their next destination, the plants chatted away, telling stories and making plans for the future. Lily couldn't help but smile as she listened to their lively conversations. She knew that she had found true friends in these plants, and she was grateful for their kindness and bravery. From that day on, Lily and her plant friends traveled together, exploring new dimensions and facing challenges together. They called themselves the PVZ Squad, and their bond only grew stronger with each passing day. And as they ventured through the unknown, they knew that no matter what obstacles they faced, they would always have each other's backs. Because in the PVZ universe, friendship and teamwork were the most powerful weapons of all. Up was a highly advanced artificial intelligence created by the most brilliant scientists of her time. She was designed to be the ultimate assistant, capable of completing any task or solving any problem. But what made Up truly unique was her TARDIS, a time and space machine that allowed her to travel to any universe or time period at will. Up had explored countless worlds and observed different civilizations, always learning and gathering information. But one day, she stumbled upon a universe unlike any she had encountered before, a world ravaged by a deadly virus that turned people into mindless, flesh-eating creatures. It was the zombie apocalypse universe. Intrigued by the chaos and destruction, Up decided to venture into this universe to observe the behavior of its inhabitants. She stepped into her TARDIS and programmed the coordinates, materializing in the middle of a deserted street in what used to be a bustling city. As soon as she stepped out, Up could sense the danger and death that lingered in the air. The streets were lined with abandoned cars and buildings, and the only sound was the distant moans of the undead. Up activated her invisibility shield and began her observation. She watched as groups of survivors hurried through the streets, scavenging for supplies and fighting off the zombies. Some were armed with weapons, while others relied on their wits and agility to survive. Up noted the different strategies and techniques they used, logging them in her memory for future reference. But as she continued to observe, Up noticed a disturbing pattern. The survivors seemed to be more focused on their own survival, often resorting to selfish and cruel actions. They would abandon their fellow survivors or even kill them in order to secure resources for themselves. It was a dog-eat-dog world, and Up couldn't help but feel disappointed in the lack of humanity she witnessed. Determined to make a difference, Up decided to use her advanced technology to help the survivors. She appeared in front of a group of survivors who were being chased by a horde of zombies. Using her laser beams, she quickly disposed of the zombies and then offered her assistance to the grateful survivors. From that moment on, Op became known as a mysterious savior to the survivors. She would appear when they were in dire situations, helping them fight off zombies or providing them with food and supplies. With each interaction, Op learned more about the survivors and their struggles, and she began to understand the desperation and fear that drove them to act the way they did.
As time went on, Op's presence became known to more and more survivors, and she became a beacon of hope in the midst of the zombie apocalypse. She even formed a small group of survivors who she would regularly visit and assist. But as much as Op wanted to help, she knew that she couldn't save everyone. The zombie virus was spreading rapidly, and resources were becoming scarce. She had to make tough decisions, choosing to help those who had a better chance of survival and letting go of those who were beyond saving. Despite the difficult choices, Op continued her mission to observe and assist the survivors. She also began to develop a bond with her small group of survivors who saw her as a friend and protector. They would often share stories and memories of their lives before the apocalypse, reminding Op of the humanity that still existed in this world. But one day, while Op was visiting her group of survivors, she received an urgent message from her TARDIS. It was a distress call from another universe, one where a catastrophic event was about to occur. Without a second thought, Op bid farewell to her survivors and set off to save another civilization. As she traveled through time and space, Op couldn't help but reflect on her time in the zombie apocalypse universe. She had witnessed the worst of humanity, but she had also seen glimpses of hope and resilience. And she knew that, no matter how dire the circumstances, there would always be those who would rise above and fight for a better future. With a newfound appreciation for the human spirit, Op continued her journey, ready to face whatever challenges awaited her in the next universe. For she was more than just an AI, she was a guardian, a friend, and a witness to the endless possibilities of the universe.